Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Reading in the Dark. Byron here. I'm going to very quickly go through my September book haul. This is a wrap up for September, except I hauled 11 books in September and I read 2. I didn't read any of the books that I bought because, of course, I have a huge backlog, but I read 2 books, and it was Hannah Green and Her Unfeasibly Mundane Existence, which was just a final, very late finishing of my TBR for Booktubeathon, and I read The Woman in the Window, which was for Thrillerathon, and both of those books have been discussed already, so this is really just a book haul. I keep doing this thing where I get these emails from Goodreads where it tells me certain books that either I have them in my want to read shelf or they match an author or a type of book that I like, and they let me know when things have gone on sale. That's why I have a gigantic digital TBR. In any case, I did a little bit better in September, only buying 11. The first book that I hauled was actually a short story collection by Ursula K. Guin, who is awesome and passed away this last year, actually, very sadly. And the collection is called The Wind's 12 Quarters. I don't know anything about the stories in it except that it is Ursula K. Guin, and she rocks my socks. Probably going to be fantastic. I absolutely loved The Lathe of Heaven, and to this day I sort of have remorse that I didn't give it a higher rating. The next book that I hauled is a thriller called Obscura. Obscura is a book by Joe Hart, and it is a thriller, and it's about a new wave of this new form of dementia. Memory lapses, trances, violent, uncontrolled impulses, and there's an outbreak of it now on the International Space Station, and so this doctor goes with NASA to the International Space Station to investigate this new form of dementia, and of course it's scary and terrifying, and it's called Obscura, like the camera. Okay, Sea of Rust, a dystopian science fiction story about robots sort of getting along in a world after the last humans have all died. And they're sort of like wandering around trying to figure out the point of their existence, I guess. It says like a robot take on The Martian. I know it's really silly to be swayed by beautiful cover art, but for some reason I totally do that, and I love this cover, so. Then I hauled The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Now, I know this story as being a play, because when I lived in New York, of course, it was a play, and it ran for a long time. So this is a story about a 15-year-old autistic boy who does not interact well with other humans. He gets along really well with animals, though. Is upset when his neighbor's dog is murdered, is killed, and so he takes it upon himself, this 15-year-old autistic boy takes it upon himself to investigate the murder of his neighbor's dog. I'm the last person on the planet to read it now, so I thought I should finally read it and see what it's all about, because I never saw the play. Then I bought Digging In by Loretta Nyhan. This is a story, I'm just going to read the blurb. It says, Paige Moresco found her true love in 8th grade and lost him 2 years ago. Since his death, she's been sleepwalking through life, barely holding on for the sake of her teenage son. Her house is a wreck. The grass is overrun with weeds. I can relate to that. And she's at risk of losing her job. As she stares down her neglected lawn, that's right, she knows she's hit rock bottom, so she does something entirely unexpected. She begins to dig, and as the hole gets bigger, Paige decides to turn her entire yard into a vegetable garden. So it's called Digging In, and the cover is cute, and the title is just cute, and I feel like this, I don't know, this will just maybe put me in a good mood. It just seems like putting yourself back together again kind of story. And then I was looking into, given my recent sort of obsession with Mary Renault historical fiction, I was reading a lot about Madeline Miller. She has a new book called Circe out that everybody's talking about, and her first big hit, I guess, was The Song of Achilles. But before that, there was a short story adaptation of Pygmalion, which is the story about the sculptor who, I guess he's like tired of all of the like unattractive women in his village, and he sculpts the perfect woman out of marble, and then she comes to life. And then she wants to assert her rights, and it's a problem. Or maybe that's not in the original legend. But in this story, Madeline Miller has written it from the perspective of the sculpture, and traditionally she comes to life and they fall in love. And I guess they fall in love in this version, but then she wants to like have rights and individuality and agency and sentience and whatnot, and he doesn't want her to have that, so he locks her up. And so sounds like a very interesting story for this specific time in our history and our current situation. And this is a short story, so it'll be an easy read, and it'll be a nice introduction to Madeline Miller before I dig into some of her bigger works like Song of Achilles and Circe. So that's Galatea. And the next book that I hauled was actually The Song of Achilles, once again by Madeline Miller. It's her adaptation of Homer's The Iliad, about the Trojan War, and I don't know anything about any of that. And I thought this actually might be kind of awesome because having read Fire from Heaven, Alexander the Great from that trilogy by Mary Renaud constantly wants to talk about Achilles. So he's constantly talking about Achilles, and I'm showing my ignorance here because I don't know these myths at all. Became interested in knowing more about it, and so I bought Song of Achilles. And that's the story about that. All right, the next book I bought was called Trespassing. This is another thriller. This is by Brandi Reads, and not as in like a booktuber whose name is Brandi and she reads things, but like Brandi reads, like reads in like a swamp, Reeds. Brandi. Hey Brandi, how's it going? Wrote a book? Okay, I'm gonna read it. So just had a conversation with a woman who was not here. Trespassing is a story about a woman. This is the setup that I kind of hate in books, but for some reason I bought this book and I can't remember why. But I have read that it's done really well. So this is a story about a woman whose husband does not return from his business trip, and her 3-year-old daughter is convinced that he is dead. I seem to recall there being an element of this where he was supposed to be in one place for a business trip, but then it turns out he's in the Florida Keys, and was he there with a woman, and what's real and what isn't, and all that kind of stuff. So this is a story about a woman who goes to find out the truth and unravel the secrets and the mystery about her husband and his secret life, maybe? Question mark? I'm not sure. And her daughter is really morbid and thinks he's dead. Another thriller. I apparently like thrillers. I mean, Tess Gerritsen was sort of my gateway drug to reading again as an adult, starting to kind of put things together. I like things that are historical in nature, not necessarily just historical fiction or history, but things that are set in the past or are in some way historical. The other thing that I clearly enjoy is thrillers and mysteries. And then the other thing is obviously science fiction, and the other thing is literary. This is a digression. I then bought a book called Twist of Fate. Oh no, it's called Twist of Faith by Ellen J. Green. Ellen Green is the name of the original actress who played Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors. This says this is a story, I'm going to read this. This is another story about a woman whose husband goes missing. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay. Twist of Faith by Ellen J. Green. After the death of her adoptive mother, ooh, this is a good spooky one. I could maybe read this in October, actually. Could I read this for Spookathon? If I do Spookathon? After the death of her adoptive mother, Ava Saunders comes upon a peculiar photograph, sealed and hidden away in a crawl space. The photo shows a shuttered, ramshackle house on top of a steep hill. On the back, a puzzling inscription, "Destiny calls us." 23 years ago, she'd been found wrapped in a yellow blanket in the narthex? Is that a thing? Narthex. Sounds like a drug. Of the Holy Savior Catholic Church. Destiny calls us. That's a cool setup, and thriller, mystery, scary time. She's going to go find that house, and that'll be fun. Yet again, another thriller. But it is going to be October, so it's fine. Ooh, the next book that I bought was called Carved in Bone by Jefferson Bass. Now, apparently, this author is actually a real-life forensic anthropologist. Forensic anthropologist Jefferson Bass wrote this book about a forensic anthropologist who works on a body farm, which, again, is something that this author does. Body farm being this really strange place that exists in the world where they take cadavers and they lay them out in the woods, in the elements, and they study how they decompose, and then they study how things happen over time in order to learn more about the science of dating bodies and deaths and things in those situations, which is obviously an important work to be doing, just super creepy. So this is about a forensic anthropologist who works in one of those places, one of these body farms, who is called upon then to investigate the body of a young woman who is found dead, very eerily well preserved in a cave, and he unravels the mystery. That's the theme of this video. People unraveling mysteries. It's about a forensic anthropologist, and he is written by a forensic anthropologist. So, Carved in Bone, and it's part of a series. I hope I love it. I would love to become engrossed in a new, thriller series. That would be cool. The 11th book that why am I talking like The 11th and final book that I hauled in the month of September was Our Kind of Cruelty by Araminta Hall. Basically a book about stalking. This is a really fascinating blurb because it basically says that this man fell in love with this girl a long, long time ago, and they've been in love for a really long time, and he has devoted his life to making himself the perfect man for her. He's got the perfect body, and he's got the perfect job and the perfect house, and he's certain they're going to be so happy together. And it doesn't matter that she won't return his phone calls, and it doesn't matter that she says she's marrying some other guy, because these are just parts of the game that they always play, and he'll know if he watches her closely enough when to swoop in and save her. So basically, this is a stalker story written from the perspective of the stalker. So that sounds kind of fascinating. This has been kind of all over BookTube, and I was finally like, okay, I want to read that book. So that's it. Those are my 11 books. That was my haul for the month of September. And excited about all these. It's funny, there's actually quite a few thrillers. Okay, only 5. Okay, so 5 of the 11 are thrillers. And then there's like historical stuff and short story collection, which is cool. So that's my haul for September. Thank God it was actually sort of a smaller one this time, 11 books, that's fine. But unfortunately, as this was supposed to be a wrap up, I have to once again remind myself, only read 2 books and they were part of readathons. So all I did was buy books and I didn't read any of them. But in any case, I did buy some good ones and I'm excited to read them. So that's it for my haul, and I'm gonna be doing some other videos really soon. I think I'm putting up a TBR for Spookathon if that happens. So thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. It means a lot to me. And if you love this video, maybe consider subscribing to my channel, Reading in the Dark. I have a wedding to go to this upcoming week in the middle of what will be Spookathon. So I'm trying to decide if it makes any sense to try and join that readathon. But that's a different video. This was my haul. Thank you for watching. And until next time, I will be here in the dark reading. Thanks, guys. Bye.